Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will now observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Item number 1, adoption of the agenda. Any changes?
Mr. Ferris, there are a few changes. I'd like to pull item 3.1 from the agenda, and I'd also like to add a few items. I'd like to add special concurrent section 2 after item 8.11, add special concurrent item 4.1 after 10.3, and then add special concurrent item 3.1 after 11.6.
Okay, appreciate that. We do have a rather significant agenda tonight, and a lot of important work going on. I know getting things up and running, we've had lots of challenges with a lot of the dollars that have been given to us to meet a lot of the needs. So got quite a bit to cover tonight. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some consolidation of some items. But as we do that, I sure want to make sure that nothing is slighted. And so if there are any concerns or any items that you wish to address, I'm going to very briefly go over right now how we're going to group some of the items for discussion. So if there's something that you got in mind, you can keep that in mind. But we'll also, as we get to those items, we will discuss again how they're grouped. This way you can prepare for it and then identify it when we get close to it. But what we're going to do under the regular agenda, under item 6, which is educational administration, we are going to, I'm going to ask for a motion to consolidate 1 through 4 and item 8 together, and then we will discuss 5, 6, and 7 individually. Under personnel administration, I will solicit a motion to take items 1 through 3 together. We will then do 4, 5, 6, and 7 individually, and then I will solicit a motion to do 8 through 11 together. And basically, these are items that are of very similar concept, very similar thematic, and similar approaches, so they can be discussed together. And then under construction administration, we will take item 1 individually, then item 2, 3, and special concurrent 4.1 together, then do 4 and 5 individually, and then under business administration, we will take 1 individually, take 2 through 5 together, and item 6 separately. So that's kind of a game plan. We haven't tried this before. I hope it works. And I hope no one gets lost. Again, we want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to share any concerns and that we have an understanding of what we've been doing. So with that, we will go to the approval of the minutes. If there are no comments, we will move it will stand as presented. And then we go to item 3.2, presentations of service awards to district retirees. Mr. Auld.
President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Ostash, staff, and community. The talents and contributions of district employees are the key to the success of the students of the Sierra Sands Unified School District. Near the end of each school year, the Board of Education takes time to recognize the service and dedication of those employees who have retired during the current year or will be retiring at the end of the current school year. This year, there are 9 certificated and 5 classified employees who will be recognized for their distinguished and dedicated service to the Sierra Sands Unified School District. I would like to ask Dr. Ostash and Mr. Ferris if you would join me at the podium. I would have this side note. I'm very, very excited and happy that this year we're able to do this in person. However, we still have precautions in place. You know, we'd love to hug and everything else, but we aren't allowed to do that. I'm just grateful we're allowed to be here and recognize that you retirees in person. But as I call your name, if you'd come up, we'll provide you with a token of appreciation. Kind of have a sample there on the table of the hourglass. that we'll present each of the retirees with. And we'll give you a chance to recognize you with any of your family and so forth. So no further ado. I'd like to call Miss Lisa Austin, music teacher, James Monroe Middle School. Lisa was hired in 2001, so this would be her 20th year of service. Let's see here. Teresa Blue, RSP teacher, Fowler Elementary School. Yeah. Teresa was hired in 1999. If family want to take a picture, or
should they all come up together? Come up. Just stay there.
Yeah, if you'll stay.
You have to stay there.
Yeah, if you can stay, we'll recognize everyone. I'd like to call Robert Campbell, PE teacher, Borough High School. Robert was hired in 1982. This is his 40th year of service. Next, we'd like to recognize Carla Christiansen, second grade teacher, Los Forest Elementary School. Carla was hired in 1987.
That's a lot of years. That's a big amount.
Next up, and there are some people that didn't appear that they made it, and we're trying not to call their names. So I'd like to recognize Lisa John. Kindergarten teacher, Los Forest Elementary School, hired in 1994.
I can't tell you.
We need manipulatives to get us there.
Moving on to the classified employees, I'd like to recognize Valerie Bennett, school office manager, Murray Middle School. Valerie started with the district in 1998. And finally, I'd like to recognize Teresa Sween. Terry has been the finance clerk for our ASB class at Borough High School. She was originally hired in 1999. Yeah, Robert's never looked that good. Thank you very much. You don't have to stay up here, but I'm going to announce the service pins. Okay. Yep.
That brings us to 3.3, the Sierra Sands service year pins.
Thank you. The academic mission of our district depends on the dedication of employees who choose to make their careers here. In order to show our deep appreciation to these employees, it was decided to implement a service award pin to be held every year at the May school board meeting. This service award pin represents only a small sense of the gratitude we feel for the loyalty to the district through their years of hard work. We give them out in 5-year increments. So we have 5-year, 10-year, 15, and so forth. We're obviously not going to have, we can't have everybody here who's getting a pin this evening because of the number of people that would be included. It wouldn't be COVID safe. However, I would point out once again that there is this year one 40-year pin of service, and that was Robert Campbell. We will present the service pins at a later time to the recipients, and I think we want to adjourn for a moment.
Sure. So we will adjourn to the lobby to congratulate those who have provided service and are retiring, and any of those who have service pins acknowledged as well. And then we will reconvene. Yeah. But he wasn't. Okay, we will reconvene the meeting of the Sierra Sands Unified School District Board of Education and return to our public hearing. 4.1, a public hearing for the initial sunshine contract proposal for the 2021-22 school year from the Board of Education to the Desert Area Teachers Association. Mr. Auld.
Pardon me just for a second. All right. The Board of Education submitted its initial sunshine contract proposal for the 2021-2022 school year to the Desert Area Teachers Association at its regular meeting on April 15th, 2021. A public hearing provides time for comment on this proposal. It's the superintendent's recommendation that you conduct a public hearing on the proposal for initial sunshine contract 2020 through 21. Actually, that's a mistake. 2021-22 from the Board of Education to the Desert Area Teachers Association.
So we will open the public hearing at 7:25, I think that says, or 7:24 computer time. Seeing no one come forth, we will close the public hearing and move on to reports and communication. We'll start with the student members' report. Student member is not here, so I believe our Vice President Clerk will read the report. Mr. Rockwell.
Yep, I'll try to fill in. I'll do nowhere near as good a job as she would, but I'll try. Murray Middle School. ASB has kept the spirit going with Crazy Sock Day and Favorite Color Day, Spirit Days, and the Fun with Friday Fun Days. Students can join ASB students and counselors during lunch on Fridays for fun, music, and games. PBIS rewards have been going well. The program awarded 142 prizes in April. Students earn prizes for following our core behavior expectations of being respectful, responsible, and safe. 98% of our students have earned enough points to get a prize. Teachers have given out 135,435 points. There's a lot of numbers here, look out. An increase of 18,154 points. Sixth grade students have earned 67,252 points. Seventh grade, 37,691 points. And eighth grade, 30,492 points. So it kind of goes down like this. So it's just, you know, when you get old, you get less excited, I guess. Students have earned fun small toys, drinks from different local businesses, and a couple have even chosen Mr. Pierce's outfit for a day. That one? As we wrap up the year, we want to thank our PTO again for providing prizes for our program. Murray has been busy wrapping up the year and getting ready for next year. We held our annual open house virtually with a town hall meeting with Mr. Pierce, and then parents could choose breakout rooms for grade level presentations. 20 eighth graders toured BHS as part of the workability program. Murray is completing our state testing and are encouraged that a very high number of our students completed their tests. Thank you, students, teachers, and counselors who worked so hard to make this happen. Murray Cross Country ended the season with 2 local meets and many individual personal records. We will host a virtual spring concert on May 19th with band beginning at 6 p.m. and orchestra beginning at 7 p.m. So hopefully they were wonderful. I'm sure they were. Monroe Middle School. We are entering our final days of school, and students have shared with staff on multiple occasions the appreciation for some return to normalcy. Over the last month, students participated in spirit days and fun competitions. The first few were ranging from school colors to a tiger paw find. Most recently, students embarked on a clue hunt across campus after school on Tuesday. The event's breadcrumb trail ended in the ASB room for Candy. As a part of teacher appreciation, the PTSO recognized teachers and staff by supplying cookies to thank them for helping our students be one smart cookie. Lastly, in a year where much had to be canceled, it is wonderful to be able to celebrate our student success. BHS has graciously opened their stadium for the middle school promotions. We will have the opportunity to recognize our 8th graders under the current requirements, including recorded performances by our musical groups, live speeches, and special awards. Congratulations, students and staff, for your hard work in overcoming what will be remarked as an unforgettable year, to say the least. Mesquite High School. Our biggest news is that we now have 21 graduates and expect at least 4 more by the end of the year. This is such a rewarding time of year for our students and teachers. ASB continues to be busy as we wrap up the year by selling yearbooks after school, preparing for the end of the year virtual Cahoots on Thursday, May 20th. Hope that went well today, as well as a school color spirit day. School staff is busy planning our end of the year awards, as well as graduation rehearsal, which will take place on Wednesday, May 26th. Finally, we want to invite all of our board members to our graduation ceremony on May 27th at 6:30 p.m. on the Mesquite campus. Burroughs High School. The school year is drawing to a close, but Burroughs remains as busy as ever. For the past 3 weeks, juniors and seniors have been working hard to succeed on their AP tests. Tomorrow will be the last day of testing. Thanks to ASB, the year is finishing on a fun note with activities such as the S'mores Challenge, College Day, and Crazy Hat and Sunglasses Day. The class also recognized Burroughs teachers and staff for their hard work by distributing gifts during Teacher Appreciation Week. Senior officers, meanwhile, are busy planning the upcoming graduation ceremony on the 28th, and the senior class is looking forward to preparing for the real thing during graduation rehearsal. Sport seasons are ending just in time for finals next week, and all the students look forward to summer break and the promising upcoming school year. ASB would like to thank the hardworking network of teachers, administration, and staff who rose to every challenge this year presented to bring students the best experience. Additionally, best wishes to the graduating class of 2021. We look forward to seeing all you accomplish. The future is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rockwell. That brings us to reports from members of the board. Anyone have anything they'd like to report? Mr. Johnson?
I just wanted a little report. We had the CSBA, California School Board Association Delegate Assembly this past weekend. It's always good to get together. There's like 200 of us got together virtually, sharing ideas across the state, and some of the things we're looking forward over the next few years. There's lots of money coming from the Fed and the state, but it's we've got to make sure we're fiscally responsible with it as we bring it in and not expect that money to last forever. So get long-term projects and make sure they are funded correctly. A lot of districts are concerned about finding their students that have, you know, when they're at home this last year, getting them back in their classroom. So, our district isn't that much of a challenge. A lot of districts across the state are having problems, you know, tracking down the children that haven't been coming to school this last year. Other big concerns are transportation across the state. I think those are big things for me. I know Bill will have much more to share, but thanks for the opportunity to be part of Delegate Assembly and see what the other districts are doing across the state. Thank you.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You got something? No. Okay. So I just wanted to report, as Tim did, that we had the Delegate Assembly meeting, and then we also had the California School Boards Association Board of Directors meeting last week. And I will tell you that it was certainly heartwarming as we discussed some of the kinds of challenges across the state of California and how different districts have approached those challenges and tried to meet the needs. And I feel very proud of our district and the way we have moved forward trying to meet the needs of our kids and the aggressive nature we utilized to get as many kids back into classrooms as we could. And in relation to the scope of the whole, Sierra stands very tall, and I believe that is due to the dedication and the service of all of our staff, all of our administration, our teachers, our classified, and the commitment of our parents as well. So hats off to the service that had been provided by all those, because when you compare us to the state of California, we have done very, very well in moving our kids back into in classroom opportunities, and with the aggressive nature that we're heading in next year in the fall get kids back into a return to normalcy as much as possible. I think we all find that this transition period is a little more awkward. For me, I find this a bit more awkward than I thought it would be. This, you know, do we mask? Do we not mask? Do we shake hands? Do we not shake hands? Where are we now in this process, and how do we allow it to continue to move forward in a safe and appropriate way, but yet keep folks as comfortable as they can, because everyone has a different level of comfort as we move forward, and we want to be respectful of those folks, but yet we also we want to recapture many of the tremendous values we have in our life's experience. So that's all I have. Any others have anything they want to share? Okay, then we will move to the superintendent's report.
Thank you,
Dr.
Mr. Ferris. I really appreciate you bringing those up. Basically the concept that we're very well situated among our peers, because I want to highlight that the 5 board members sitting before me are a big part of that. You mentioned the staff, the classified administrators, teachers, and all of us, but it really does take a true team, and I just want to acknowledge that throughout the last year, the board met numerous times in special called board meetings on the week, you know, on a Saturday or in the evening or at noon, and so each of your availability and always being more than happy to allow us to be timely in our response, because things were changing so quickly and guidance was changing and the situation was constantly changing, and it was difficult for districts to respond appropriately, and many times it requires board approval. So in that, Mr. Ferris, you and your colleagues on the board were always there happily to join us. That was a big part of our success, so thank you to the board. I also want to highlight that this is the Classified School Employee Week, and so half of our district is comprised of classified employees, and really we're just one team. And I don't know if any of you got to see me make happily a fool of myself on a video to prove to you that I really don't know how to do a lot of the things that are done in the district, and so we need classified employees. We need that partnership, and so I just want to acknowledge and thank all of our classified employees for the dedicated service and allowing us to be successful in serving our students in the Indian Wells Valley. I also want to acknowledge Memory Lane Fabric and Quilts. Owners Bob and Linda Voigt spearheaded a donation some months ago that yielded 2,700 handmade fabric masks to students. And I will highlight that we didn't, of course, we didn't have a need for the safety equipment, but we of course welcomed that kind of contribution. It was really nice. I believe, I wrote it down here somewhere. 27 volunteers happily donated masks to our district, and it's just been really fun and kind of turning a situation that isn't always a fun one a little bit more fun. So that's been cool. I want to highlight. Several months ago, it was tenuous. We didn't know that we would be able to, we didn't know that students would be back in classrooms, and of course we know that there are 2,500 plus students out of our 5,000 students back in classrooms, which is wonderful. We didn't know that we'd have sports. We have an amazing performance among our young men and women. At Borough High School, for example, we have over 500 athletes who are jam-packing, let's see, it's 16 programs, 24 individual teams. We have 500 athletes who are participating. And I'm just going to give you some highlights. Our boys cross-country team were league champs this year. Our girls cross-country team, second place. Girls tennis, second place in league. And Hannah Osterman is our singles champion and player of the year. She plays soccer. She takes lots of AP classes, and so hats off to Hannah. We also have Samantha Rosal and Alyssa Workman, who were all league individuals. For girls wrestling, we have Monica Monsalud, who is the MVP for upper weights and league champ. In boys tennis, they are the league champs. And today they won in 40-mile-an-hour winds versus Barstow, so they actually move on to the second round of CIF Southern Section competition. Despite not having a pool, both our boys and girls swimming teams are league champions. Thomas Bowie, Andrew Bowie, Douglas Bowie, and Adrian Renault will compete in CIF Southern Section individuals.
So what is the home team advantage if you don't have a pool? How does that work?
It's magic. It's magic. Let's see, our boys basketball team is undefeated with 2 contests left to finish in league this week and hopeful to finish in top 3 and looking to the playoffs next week starting on Wednesday. Girls basketball team is undefeated, including with their win this afternoon, which makes them league champs. And they have a home game next Thursday for first round CIF Southern Section. Track is competing in league finals, and coach expects to have about 15 qualify for individual CIF Southern Section postseason. Golf is also competing in league finals this week, and will send their top 6 to play for a spot in CIF Southern Section finals. So, I didn't spotlight everyone or every situation, but just a phenomenal year in athletics, and something like 40% of our students at Boroughs are playing sports, and we just have. What an amazing, I would say that the bulk of all of this performance is like in the last 6 weeks. So just really, really cool stuff. Summer school, we already have close to 300 elementary age students who are enrolled in the first 2-week block session. And that's, of course, a new program, which is resulting from some of the specialized funding we get from the state to provide extended learning for students. And so lots of classified employees and teachers will be working through the summer with and of course, we're enrolling our secondary grade levels for summer learning and credit recovery. The May revise budget came out, and so while there are still some final processes associated with the budget crystallizing, it is a very positive budget year projected for next year, and it'll be a lot of hard work, but it'll be nice to be able to work and collaborate with our bargaining units and our staff on serving students and increasing services. So that'll be a good thing for us. And then lastly, I just wanted to piggyback on Mr. Rockwell had commented on promotions and graduations. We are really grateful that we're able this time around to do live promotion ceremonies and graduation ceremonies for Mesquite High School and Burroughs High School and Murray and Monroe Middle Schools. There will be obviously some modifications to comply with the state regulations for reduced capacity, and of course we'll do that, but we are looking forward that for students and family members to be able to participate in those live ceremonies. And also they will be live streamed so that those who can't be there in person can certainly enjoy them and cheer on their favorite graduate or promotee through the internet. So with that, Mr. Ferris, that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Astash. That brings us back to reports to the board from the trustees of the Desert Area Teachers Association.
Good evening. Good evening, Dr. Ostash, President, staff, faculty, community. I'm sorry, I've just got finals on my brain. So I'm sorry for being a little short on intellect tonight. I wasn't sure what to say. The end of the year is a really emotional time in the best of times, and as Dickens would say, it's the best of times, it was the worst of times. And I've had a zillion quotes running through my head, one of which is a Shakespeare sonnet, when I all alone beweep my outcast state. And I feel like all of us who have been on Zoom, and I don't mean just the teachers, anyone who has been logging into Zoom since August for 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, has at some point bemoaned their outcast state, because Zoom is isolating. It goes against everything that teaching is. I'm grateful that we had it. It's what had to be done, and I think we all did a good job, but none of us came out unscathed. I've also had a line by the Wallflowers, their big hit, One Headlight, in my head. I ain't changed, but I know I ain't the same. And I think that teachers especially can relate to this, because at the end of this year, we haven't changed. We're still us. We're still rooting for our kids. We're still working far beyond our contract hours. We're still writing tests and grading them late into the night, and we're still enjoying the joys of teaching, but there's something different. There's something different about us. Zoom is lonely and demoralizing and hard and isolating. And I'm bringing this up because it's in my nature as a teacher at the end of the year to reflect back. And I think we did a terrific job. And I mean, all of us here, I mean, the teachers, the families, the students, leadership, everybody, I think we got together and we did the best that we could in a really awful time. And I feel good about that. I also want to say that as we go on, let's remember this. Let's remember what we've been through. Feel good about the successes. And keep in mind that this was something that took all of us to accomplish. And I feel good about that. I want to end on kind of a happy note. In a few days, we'll wave goodbye to 2021. Some of us probably more enthusiastically than others. And what a year. What a year. I'm not going to say it's the worst year because then I'm afraid 21-22 is like challenge accepted. So, but we know what to do, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I hope everyone has a very relaxed summer vacation. I just want to be very clear. I am not available. I don't care what happens. I am not available. And hopefully we'll have an uneventful summer and maybe a really boring year next year. Either way, I'm looking forward to being back here in the fall.
Thank you, Ms. Poole. That brings us to report of the Board of Trustees from the California School Employees Association.
Hello, Board, President, Board members, Superintendent, Dr. Ostash, staff, and community. Like I stated last month, we were in the middle of our voting for the 2021 contract. We finished that off and now are eager to begin the negotiations for our successor. As you may know, each May, California salutes the important contributions of classified school employees during Classified School Employees Week. Our theme this year is Essential Workers Getting It Done. In a typical year, classified employees are recognized as essential to the success of students and public education. This year, however, classified employees have stepped up to the challenges presented by the COVID-19 pandemic and proven to be essential workers serving our students and schools like never before. Tony Thurmond, the California State Superintendent, stated that this has been an extremely difficult year, and meeting students' basic needs, as well as their social and emotional needs, has been more important than ever. Thankfully, our classified employees have made heroic efforts to step up and support California students so they can continue to learn. We know that our schools could not run without our classified staff. I would like to acknowledge all of the hard work that has been put in by the Sierra Sands classified staff. They have all worked so hard this entire year, and for this I am very thankful, as are many others. First off, our child and nutrition staff have not skipped a beat and have continued to work since the very beginning and have worked extremely hard in providing nutritional meals to many, many children throughout our valley since the beginning of this pandemic. Our custodial staff have kept our campuses clean and virus-free on a daily basis. They also helped to set up classrooms to follow guidelines that were set in place in order to be able to keep our students and staff safe. Our clerical staff have worked really hard to help maintain communications between students, parents, and staff. All of our classified employees have gone above and beyond this year, including those mentioned, but also transportation, librarians, paras, maintenance, ground, our mechanics, noon duties, and the technology department. No matter what their role is, our classified employees are the essential workers getting it done. Also, with Mr. Ostash's video, don't quit your day job.
Thank you. That brings us to item 6, communications from the public. The board will provide time during the discussion of each agenda item for members of the public to comment. At this time, members of the public may address the board on items that are not on the agenda. Comments should relate to items of public interest within the board's jurisdiction. The law prohibits the board from taking action on items that are not on the agenda, but if appropriate, your comments will be referred to staff for response. When addressing the board, please state your name and address at the podium and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. In accordance with the board bylaws, the board will limit the total time of public comment to 30 minutes. Those wishing to address the board beyond that 30-minute time limit period may do so at the end of the scheduled meeting agenda. So I now open public comment. Seeing no one, I think this was our first public comment opportunity in the last year that was actually live. But we'll close public comment and move on to educational administration. As I discussed earlier, I would like to entertain a motion to move item 1 through 4 and item 8 under educational administration in one move.
So moved.
Second.
I have that motion in second, and what I would request, ladies, if you can give us a general sense of what processes we use to select the appropriate programs and services to meet the needs that we have, and then maybe highlight some of the ways we identify and kind of confirm that the costs that we're spending on those programs is consistent and appropriate for the services rendered and in the market value. Then we can, if we have any questions on specific items, we can follow up on those, but not have to have a item for item specific discussion. Does that make sense? Is that something that you're prepared to do? Thank you so much for that.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
You want me to do the intro? We can fight over the intro. Good evening, President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Ostash, staff and community. I am presenting 6.1, 6.2, and 6.4, and all 3 of these are contracts for our elementary schools for supplemental educational programs. And each site does a needs assessment, and based on that needs assessment, they select programs that fit the identified needs that the students have, and then they make their selections. And then, of course, because these contracts are over $10,000, we are bringing them to the board. Now, one of these contracts is actually a 3-year contract, so that's why it's $25,000. But do you want to do yours? Sure.
Good evening. Item 6.3 is a contract for our supplemental counseling curriculum, second step. And we're closing out our DODEA counseling grant this month, actually this next week. And so one of the goals of any DODEA grant is to sustain our services. And so that's a purchase over $10,000 of the most updated second step curriculum for K through 8 counseling.
And then item 8, is that yours as well?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay. So you may recall that 2 years ago, with our low-performing student block grant, we engaged in a contract with the UCLA Math Curtis Center to develop pathways and programs and really scope and sequence work with 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math, Algebra 1, Algebra 2, geometry. I think I got that. And they have developed units of instruction or scope and sequence course pathways. And the next step is we need to verify that our students mastered the learning. So the next contract is to develop assessments so we can monitor progress in 6th, 7th, and 8th, and then our high school math programs. And then, of course, you know, our hope is to add that 3rd year of math requirement when we can get everything tightly aligned. And that UCLA contract would be paid out of our latest DODEA grant, secondary math, our DODEA 2019.
Thank you. Really appreciate that work and tightening that up so we can get an understanding without dragging you through the mud. Any questions from board members on any of those items? That is item 1 through 4 and item 8 under educational administration.
We recommend action.
It's been moved and
Very good.
seconded for that block. I think we
Yeah.
already have that motion and second. Any questions or comments from members of the public or staff?
I just have one comment.
Sure.
I mean, I know we're trying to consolidate these for smoothness of the meeting, but there is so much stuff in this packet, and if us as board members didn't have a chance to look at it, I mean, I'm glad I did, because there's so much stuff that the public has no idea what we're voting on. So I just want to let the public know that the board members have read all through this before we got here, because there's so much stuff we're going to vote on tonight that there should be 2 or 3 meetings.
Your point is well taken, Tim, and I apologize because that was one of the comments that I wanted to double check to make sure that the board has read and understood all of these issues. And at this point in time, if there are any items that you did read and develop understanding, or that you have questions on, let's make sure those are brought out. But indeed, yes, we've done the due diligence. We understand what we're voting on, but like you mentioned, there's a lot in here tonight, and I don't want to slight any of it, but there's no way we could go through it item by item and be done before the day is over. So,
I guess in the future, if we have this agenda, this packed, I recommend we do more than one meeting, because, I mean, it's going to be a couple hours as it is, and we're barely going to just skim through it. So, I mean, that's my thing. This typically isn't a normal, I haven't seen an agenda this big in the last 10 years, so. But it's
so
huge.
I've done 35 years, and this is the biggest agenda so
Okay.
far. So
Thanks.
it is the rare. Okay, your points are well taken. Any questions on that any board members have on any of those issues? And I think I already asked if the public or staff did. If not, we will take a vote, and I don't think we have to vote roll call. So all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. It brings us to item. It brings us to item 5, Mr. Delbeck, approval of the annual budget plan and annual service plan for the 2021-22 Sierra Sands SELPA.
All right. President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Ostash, staff, and community. I don't know how much you want me to give you. Do you want me to summarize? Kind of, okay. Background information. We have to submit our annual budget plan and our annual service plan to the board. And in it, if you look, it talks about all the services we provide to our students.
I think I'm going to have to ask you to be sure to speak it. Thank you for the. Sorry about that. That's all right.
Our annual service plan includes the services that we provide to our community. These services all have codes on them. Those codes are used in what we call our individual IEP plans to provide services to our students. As a single district SELPA, we provide as much as we can. And you could see there the services that we do provide our students. And it's a lengthy list. So it starts everywhere from specialized academic instruction to medical needs of our students to orthopedic needs and the needs of our students. As a school district, Sierra Sands does an excellent job of providing for our students with exceptional needs. So these are all outlined in there. And in addition to that, we have to submit our budget plan. Our budget plan is similar to last year's. It's outlined in our Section D of our local plan. In addition to that, we do a special education plan that outlines our services, how we intend to service our students in our community. So if you want any more details.
I think, are there any questions by board members? Do we have a motion?
Move recommended action.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions, any more details that we need for Mr. Delbeck on this issue? Any questions or comments from public or staff? If not, we will call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. That brings us to item 6, Ms. Savko, approval of health science careers 1 and 2 course outlines and the related costs, Mesquite High School.
Do you want me to summarize this, or?
Yes, but, give it a degree of clarity that can help us make sure everybody understands it.
I would just like to remind my teacher friends out there that this feels like a formative assessment. And I'm having to highlight the main ideas on the spot. So here's my best go. Do we have a rubric? Haha, that's just to evaluate this summary. All right. See, thank you, audience. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. I will. You better get that hook because we've been working hard. So I want you to hear this.
There is a rubric, but you don't know what it is until you're done.
They didn't think you were very funny.
Mine's stuck on.
All right. I think I've got it.
Now you got it.
All right, thank you for the opportunity to highlight this really good work. So, to your point about the one-time funding that continues to roll out of federal and state, we have thoughtfully considered what programs we might lift up and any gaps we might fill with these opportunities. So, for many years, we've struggled to expand any kind of CTE programs at Mesquite because of their size. And so one of the goals of Mesquite was to, again, increase those opportunities, especially in the health career fields with our close partnership with Saracoso Community College. Okay? So there is a lab program, which is really critical, right, instead of the old days where we just learn about it and flip the page. So there's an opportunity here to use some of our expanded learning opportunity grant funding to maximize the additional instructional minutes embedded into Mesquite's day to offer these 2 lab courses in health science careers. I'd like to just share what the 8 units of study would be, because I think that's really important. And I'd like to just note that many of them have a STEM focus, okay? So the 2 courses have these units of study: dentistry with a STEM focus, emergency medical technician, medical imaging, mental health, nursing, pharmacology, therapeutic services, and veterinary medicine. This would be funded, again, with the ELO grant, and this would be an elective course that would be A through G. So it's a good opportunity for our students, and again, it's a great use of one-time funding to meet a need. And we keep a wish list, and anytime we can check something off of our wish list for our students, we will. How did I do?
Well, we'll see when the vote comes. Any questions or comments from board members?
I'd like to comment that I'm glad to see this coming to Mesquite. Those students, it definitely can make a big difference for them, and hopefully this could lead to articulation type things with the college as well, for them to be able to move on in these career areas. So thank you.
Mr. All.
Do we have an estimate as to how many students will be participating in these classes?
You know, I don't know, because we have to have our courses approved before we can offer them. So I know that the Mesquite enrollment has significantly increased, and I don't actually have an estimate, but we will fill every virtual seat.
And as one other question, and these costs don't include the instructor costs either, do they?
No, sir.
Okay.
This is the cost of the materials, and there'll be about a $2,500 carrying cost each year, which is very minimal.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public or staff? If not, we have a motion.
Move recommended action. Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. That brings us to item 7, Dr. Ostash, approval of expanded learning opportunities grant plan.
That's me, and I will summarize mine, but I first want to accept responsibility for this long packet, and I would say that there's a redeeming quality. Although I apologize for the long packet, it's somewhat emblematic of what this year has been like, and it's probably appropriate that symbolically it happened in this month, because as we get ready to close out the year, I want to acknowledge that my cabinet friends and all of my colleagues have worked extremely hard this year, and it would I don't even know how to adequately thank them. But the length of this packet really is symbolic of what this year has been like, and I just think it honestly was frankly pretty unavoidable. And this item is an exact example of that, with all the extra funding that has come to our district from the Fed and the state. is so also will there be tremendously more work to imagine the implementation and then the compliance and regulatory aspect of these programs, which is this item 6.7. As you know, we in our district will be receiving about $3.5 million to implement extended learning opportunities, which for us, there will be a number of things that we do with that, and the details are in this packet. But we will be implementing summer programs that we, of course, didn't have the funding to do before pandemic, and so we have elementary and middle school summer programming for this coming summer and the next. There will be tremendous extended learning opportunities all through next school year, and there will even be opportunities to support the emotional, the socio-emotional learning of our students. We're looking to bring in even some new professionals, even a licensed clinical social worker. We would never have had the revenues to be able to support that kind of professional service. We'll be able to do that with this money, and that's in the details here. So part of the state's requirement for the issuance of this $3.537 million grant is to have the board approve basically our plan. And we're not held to every detail of the plan, but we do have to have a board adopted plan as described. And so you can see the strategies that are extended here or outlined here. And we have reached out to different stakeholder groups to solicit inputs, kind of a consulting type approach. And we've identified very specific supplemental instruction and support strategies based on these prioritized areas of need, as demonstrated by student engagement data, elementary English language, arts, and math progress monitoring data, looking at our secondary DNF rates and grade reports, looking at the chronic absenteeism rates, and then, of course, the mental health referrals. The financial implications for this grant is that the apportionment is $3,537,020. The district may use these, we call them ELO, we can use these ELO funds for any eligible expenditure from the start of this school year, the 2020-21, on July 1, 2020 through August 31, 2022. All expenditures, including reimbursements, must be linked to the allowable uses that have been described in this packet. I recommend that the board approve the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant Plan as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions by board members? Mr. Johnson.
I think the only one question I have, it's awesome we have this money and programs setting up. My only concern is we set up all these great programs, and then 2 years from now, the funds get cut, and how do we sustain the program? So I just want to make sure that we're mindful as we set up programs that we think long-term, not just 1 or 2 years of what they'll do for us. I mean, it's awesome we have the money now, but it'll help with not with the learning loss, but the learning opportunities. Let's call it something positive that we move forward. That's my only concern is great money now, but 2 years from now, we don't know where it's going to be. So I just want to make sure we're mindful when we spend money.
I really appreciate you bringing that up, Mr. Johnson, because we have been extremely sensitive to that strategy. So I'll give you a very good example. So you know that in the past we have current DODEA grants, and so we've been able to, as we strategically look at the timeline upon which some of those grant monies roll off, we've been able to strategically use like some LCAP dollars, so it's the Local Control Accountability Plan dollars through the supplemental concentration. So one of the things that we've been discussing in our consulting meetings with DATA and Csca and DEGA is that when we look, for example, at this LCSW position, the licensed clinical social worker position, we know that we can fund that position for a couple of years through ELO. So we've already projected, we've already channeled that might be a very nice continuity support through the LCAP process. So 2 years in advance of when these monies would roll off, we're already socializing and consulting with our bargaining units about how we might utilize some monetary space that we have in LCAP. So we're really sensitive about not bringing on ongoing costs without a plan for, hey, if this works out well, we'd really like to keep it for continuity. So we already have an eye on that. And I appreciate you bringing that up because that's a strategic strength of ours, I think, and something we're really putting our eyes on.
Any other questions or comments? Very powerful information there, I think. Thank you, Tim, for asking that question. Any other questions or comments from members of the public? If not, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. That brings us to personnel administration. I would like to solicit a motion of items 1 through 3. They're routine.
Move 1 through 3.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions on items 3? Any questions on item 3 from the public? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. It is unanimous. It moves to item 4, which we will handle individually. Mr. Alt.
If you don't mind, I'd take this opportunity. If anybody's keeping score, you probably noticed that I have the most agenda items for the evening.
So if anything goes wrong, we're going to blame you.
Right. And I do say that actually with some pride, because I think this is the first night that I've had the opportunity to have presidents from all 3 associations in person. Some of what we're going to approve tonight is the result of the hard work that's gone into the ongoing negotiations during pandemic. Unprecedented negotiations. We've spent quite a bit of time together, and I just want to publicly thank all 3 of the associations. Ms. Poole from Data, Sylvia Pianis, and Cheryl is here from Csca, and Brianna is here from DEGA. These people have also put in addition to dealing with their own job responsibility in a brand new world, numbers and numbers of hours staring at me on a screen. So I think they deserve some recognition for that. And I wasn't wearing a mask because I was by myself in my office. So okay, 8.4. This is actually regular business. This comes to you each and every year. This is our teacher induction program for our teachers that are probationary. They've earned their credential. They need to clear their credential. The Kern County Superintendent's Office has a program for all of the districts within Kern County, of which we are a member. And so this MOU is entered into between KCSOS through its teacher induction program and the participating public school districts such as SSUSD. It was formerly known as BITSA, Beginning Teacher Support Assessment Induction Program, and the Clear Education Specialist Induction Program. The purpose of the program is to support educational entities by providing a credentialing program for their beginning teachers. The financial implications, it's approximately $80,000 annually based on an average of 26 certificated employees' participation. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the enclosed memorandum of understanding with KCSOS for the teacher induction program as presented.
Move recommended action.
A motion and second. Any questions? Any questions by staff and public? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Brings us to item 5, approval of student teaching agreement with Liberty University.
So along the same lines as supporting There we go. Got it. Supporting our teachers that are just earning their credential or have just earned their credentials. The district periodically enters into an agreement with universities to provide teaching experience through practice, through student teaching specifically. Liberty University is one such teacher program, and they have submitted an MOU for your approval. It's the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the student teaching agreement with Liberty University teacher program as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions, comments? Mr. Johnson.
How many teachers are using this program?
It will be a little bit different from year to year. Actually, this particular program, it's anywhere between 5 and 10, typically.
Any other questions or comments from board members? Questions or comments from public or staff? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Brings us to item 6, presentation of initial sunshine contract proposal from the 2021-22 school year from the Board of Education to the Chapter 188 of the California School Employees Association, Csca.
This board item is representative of us moving back into normal, regular negotiations. The Board of Education would like to submit their sunshine proposal to Chapter 188 of the California School Employees Association for the 2021-22 school year. The Board of Education submits its sunshine contract proposal. The financial implications are unknown at this time, and it's the superintendent's recommendation that the board present the sunshine contract proposal to Chapter 188 and set the next regular meeting date as the date for the public hearing on the proposal. And I would like to offer or volunteer to symbolically present that to the leadership of CSEA on your behalf.
You bet. Have a motion and a second? Any questions, comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. You may present. Brings us to item 7, presentation of initial sunshine contract proposal for the 2021-22 school year for the Board of Education to the Desert Area Guidance Association, DAGA.
All of the same background information. Of course, financial implications are unknown, and it is the superintendent's recommendation that on your behalf I present the sunshine contract proposal for the 2021-22 school year to the Desert Area Guidance Association and set the next regular meeting date as the date for the public hearing on the proposal.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from board members? All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? It is unanimous. You may present. Brings us to item 8. And also to include special concurrent item section 2. Correct? No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was incorrect. 8 through 11 is correct. Have a motion and a second. Mr. Ald.
The 8.8 through 8.11 represents, 8.8 represents a settlement between the district and the California School Employees Association and its Chapter 188 for regular negotiations for the 2020-21 school year. The remaining board headers are required by the county to do AB 1200 so that we can justify that we have the wherewithal to provide what we've agreed to.
Okay, any questions by board members? Any questions by members of the public or staff? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. And now we bring to special concurrent section 2.
All right. Hang on a second.
That's all right.
So we're on concurrent 1 and 2. Okay.
So we'll do 1 and 2 together. I have a motion for 1 and 2 together. Been moved and seconded. Mr. Ald?
So during this unprecedented time, we actually had a circumstance where 2 of our classified departments, their manager or director, unexpectedly had to have a leave of absence. And it was, we've already recognized and acknowledged how important providing meals has been in food service and then also transportation. We recognized as a leadership group that there was an employee in each of these departments that could step up and fulfill some of the responsibilities based on their experience and their skill set. And this is both of these MOUs represent a one-time, non-precedent setting differentiated pay for each employee for the work that they did outside of their regular classification.
Any questions by board members? Any questions by members of the public or staff? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. brings us to item 3, authorization of certificated management position, special education coordinator.
Historically, the SELPA Executive Director has been the only member of the management team who is responsible for facilitating the district's special education program. This practice has been sustainable in the past. However, the landscape of special education has been steadily evolving, creating a much more rigorous condition. Consequently, the number of staff members assigned to the department and the volume of work has grown exponentially. In addition, Education Code and federal law has increased the liability that districts must comply with, which has increased the likelihood of potential litigation. Currently, 17% of Csca students have an active individual education plan, or IEP. In addition, there are 106 students who do not currently have an IEP, but are pending assessment to determine if they qualify. The special education coordinator position will be a critical resource so that the district can provide a high-quality educational program to our students with specific needs. More specifically, the special education coordinator will be responsible for, among other things, the following: development and maintenance of special education procedures to ensure compliance with local, state, and federal regulations, evaluate staff performance, assist in preparing the annual budget for SELPA, assist with the coordination of services provided, coordinate and/or provide professional development for staff, ensuring the appropriate placement of students with an IEP, and help to facilitate Iep meetings as the LEA designee. The financial implications. The special education coordinator position will be assigned to Class 4 of the certificated management salary schedule. There will be 210 contracted workdays, and the total compensation for a Class 4 Step 1 coordinator is approximately $124,000. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the certificated management position special education coordinator as presented.
It's been moved and seconded. Have any questions from board members? Have any questions or comments from parts? Go ahead.
So, one of the duties there is facilitating the IEP meetings is the LEA designee. I know oftentimes the site administration serves in that role. This will then free up site administration to do more site stuff instead of
Correct.
IEP meetings.
Right.
That's good.
The district has a practice over the last couple of years because of the increased volume of bringing in former administrators, very veteran administrators such as Ms. Littleton recently, to act in that role, which is a very important role because in an IEP meeting, whatever is agreed to must then come true. So we want to make sure that the designee is very knowledgeable about IDEA, special education law, and so forth. But it will also free up some of our site administrators for the things that they're busy doing.
Good. Thank you for that question, Dr. Hunt. Any other questions or comments from board members? Questions or comments from members of the public or staff? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. I would now entertain a motion for item 4 through 6. Been moved and seconded.
Awesome. Let me make sure I remember which each one is. Okay. So this actually goes back to what Dr. Ostash was referring to when he talked about the Extended Learning Opportunity Grant. It's the funding, but more so the need, has provided an opportunity for us to add additional service. And each one of these positions represent additional service or more efficient service. For instance, 2.4 is the combination of two positions into one. And this really was inspired by the fact that our IT department is spending much more time working on Chromebooks than they are printing materials and so forth. So not only with technology evolving, but with the pandemic, there was a need to streamline some of our positions. And then the addition of the LVN position, the licensed clinical worker, those are, as Dr. Ostash discussed, identified needs based on what we will have to mitigate as a result of the pandemic. and with regards to social emotional health and so forth.
Any questions of Mr. Alden's?
I just have one on the social worker's position. I know the 1,000 school districts in California all need these same people, so I think it'd be difficult trying to find social workers over the next couple of years, since every district in the state, or every district in the nation, are trying to fill the gap for the social and emotional need of our students. So it's exciting we're doing it. I just hope we can find somebody that can fill the position.
Yeah, we definitely have our work cut out for us in a number of different ways. LVNs are also in high demand, and some of the other organizations that are looking for them are in a position to pay a different type of salary. It may seem like a higher salary, but it's our job to educate them about total compensation and so forth. But yes, it's going to be very competitive.
Any other questions or comments from board members? Mr. Rockwell.
And just to clarify, we currently have 2 mental health therapists for SELPA efforts. So we're talking about adding 2 additional LCSWs to that
Potentially.
picture.
Depending on our recruitment
if we can
and
find them. So
retainment, yes.
So another just $200,000 in salary.
Yeah, one of the challenges is that, as you might imagine, our therapists are both extremely busy, but due to our current setup, are only able to provide service to students who qualify via an IEP. And so this position would allow us to move that into our general ed population as well.
Any other questions or comments from board members? And I appreciate the questions and comments. I know, Mr. Johnson, you commented about how unusual this is, and that we're both the size of the agenda and the approach we're taking. And I think if we looked over the last year, there are many things we've had to do in a very unusual way. And I want to make sure that as we're doing this, there's no reflection on the value of what we're accomplishing here and the need for attention. And so when we come to those areas where we need to establish a better understanding and we need to call out items, I think it's important that we do that. But again, like has been happening in so many situations this year, there's a lot of ground to cover in a very short period of time. And to try and find a way to do that, I think, is important to do it respectfully and thoughtfully and efficiently all at the same time. So that's the challenge before us, and I appreciate so far. I think we've had a good attack of this, and appreciate everybody's efforts in doing that. Okay, then I think we've got the motion in second, so all in favor say aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Okay, so we are now 2.7 on the concurrent. Thank you. Memorandum of understanding with Csca.
So with regards to this, this is a ongoing traditional board header. However, with the May revision that was just released by the governor, more importantly, the interpretation of what his priorities are based on the allocation of the funding. You may have heard of the fact that he is focusing some of the funding on a teacher pipeline, so to speak, in recognition of the teacher shortage, also paraprofessional shortage. And so there's going to be some changes involved here. This particular memorandum, unlike the one I brought earlier, is with regards to our teachers that are on an intern credential, meaning they haven't yet finished their credential program, but they are in a program with the university. And this is just the additional support that's required to help them to finish, to complete. Now, as I mentioned, in addition to helping to pay for some of these services, so it'll be interesting to see what this looks like a year from now. The budget has now committed quite a bit of money to inspiring young people to go into education, and part of it is by paying for credentials and supporting educators. So, but in any case, since we don't have that clarity yet, the MOU is entered into between KCSOS through its Teacher Development Program Consortium and the participating public school districts such as SSUSD. Purpose of the program is to provide support services, monitoring and assessment of teachers with an intern credential. Intern teachers are individuals who are enrolled in a university teacher preparation program and are concurrently employed in a school district while they work towards satisfying the requirements of their 5-year preliminary teaching credential. Financial implications, approximately $45,000 annually, based on our historic average of about 13 certificated intern employees participating. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the MOU with KCSOS for the Teacher Development Program Consortium as presented.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public or staff? All in favor say aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. We now move to construction administration. Thank you, Mr. Auld. Oh, I'm sorry, 9.1. General administration gifts to the district, Mr. Rockwell.
The following gifts were received. Susan Ragland donated scrapbooking supplies and crafting materials with an estimated cash value of $1,000 to be used for art activities by RSP and SDC students throughout the district. Memory Lane Fabric and Quilts donated 2,700 handmade fabric face masks with the estimated cash value of $2,700 to be used by students throughout the district. Kathy and Mark McCoy donated a portable PA system and a mixer for the cafeteria sound system with an estimated cash value of $1,000 to be used at Pierce Elementary School. And the Altrusa Club of the Indian Wells Valley made a cash donation of $100 to Richmond Elementary School to be used for school supplies. Donations provide support to the district and have a positive financial impact. I move that we accept the gifts as described and send appropriate letters of appreciation.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Mr. Coit moves this to construction administration. Item 1, report to the board on construction activities and issues.
President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Ostash, staff, and community, I'm pleased to give this update on the status of the district's construction activities. This report is presented for informational purposes only and no action is required. For our DoD project, our project team has been working with the Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation to answer questions and clarify some sections of our project proposal. One positive development in our discussions with the federal team is that they now appear ready to support a solar power option as part of the Richmond School Grant proposal. We will submit our revised project proposal, including the solar option, to the OLDCC tomorrow. So that's the latest on the DoD, and I think we're ready to go through a quick PowerPoint. Sierra Vista Center, canopy repairs, and we've discussed this, I know. So some of us remember when it looked like that, I think, the Sierra Vista Center. That's the original plans for grants and FOSIOs. We had to start with that on this project. So the canopy repairs have begun, and I was over there this afternoon, and it's stripped all the way to the corner of Albertsons now. So we're well on our way on demolition on the canopy. Another shot of that, you can see where all the tile's gone. We've stripped wood back, and we've started to remove some of the connections between the buildings. That's going to go away. We're maintaining businesses are open while this is happening, so I know we're trying to really help out all the folks and make sure we're in and out of there and leaving their way of travel, a safe pathway to get in and out of the businesses. Just another overview. And I'll continue to update this as the project goes, but this is the project budget, and so I'll take this chart and start to actually put actual costs as we move forward. And any questions on that part?
Any questions comments on this portion? Mr. Rockwell.
We've looked at a lot of these kinds of things over the years, but the last item seems like a lot of interesting things kind of lumped together. Is that the norm these days, or what's the? Usually, unforeseen conditions is sort of a separate thing that's a percentage of everything else, and the other items on there have more specific detail behind them. Why is that just a lump sum now?
Just a budget number right now. What we've done is project management. They've got several of our projects, and we just about expended their budget on that. So we had a fixed number going into project management because it was for all the earthquake projects. It was kind of hard to spread out and accurately. So when we wrap all the projects up, we can tidy that up a little bit. A lot of times I'll use 30% for soft costs, just because your architectural costs are usually between 10 and 12%. So our overhead, unforeseen conditions, and then your general conditions. So our project management or construction management company also, we wind up paying their hourly cost and their general conditions, such as the temporary fencing that's up there and portable restrooms, that sort of thing. So we're carrying that number right now, and we'll definitely have at the end of the project, we'll be able to show you just where all those costs were expended.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, go ahead.
So when we've covered this again, our proposed electric bus yard, that comes up again here on another item. We discussed in the workshop about the condition of the asphalt. So I wanted to show you a couple shots of the asphalt as we get ready to make that decision in the next month or so. And that's about it for that PowerPoint. Moving along. Go back to the other screen. There we go. Any questions on the bus yard? Or
any questions on any of Mr. Coit's report? If not, we can go ahead and move on. I'll entertain a motion for items, let's see, 2, 3, and 4.1. I have a motion for 2, 3, and special concurrent 4.1. Do I have a second?
Go ahead. Yeah, I'll second it. Are the buses in that one? I'm
Okay, so let's, that's approval of the agreement with Benton Sports for resurfacing of the borough's high school tennis courts.
okay, that's right.
That's the, enter into the agreement with J. Noble Benz Plumbing Company. And then in the concurrent,
Mid-state sheet metal for roofing repairs.
Okay.
okay?
I'm good with all those.
No, that's good, and I appreciate this. We want to know what we're voting
Yeah,
on here.
because I had a question on buses, and I
Yeah,
don't want to have
yep,
it get slipped through.
Okay. So, Mr. Coit, you want to go ahead and present on those 3 items?
Okay, so the first one is with Binon for resurfacing the Borough's high school tennis courts. And this is one that the AD at Borough's and Shane Herbert from the maintenance department have been working on, and it actually was delayed for a year with COVID. They went out for bids, and actually Binon is on our informal bidders list, and they were the low bidder. So they were selected, and this work will occur this summer.
And then also 3 and 4.1 of concurrent.
Okay, so 3 is the fire line, which we've also covered, and Noble Benz was selected as the low bidder on that project, and so we're presenting that today for your approval. And 4.1 is a re-roof of the center section of the PAC roof, the section that was not replaced during modernization. We've already bought the materials for that, and that was an informal bid, Csca bid, and Mid-State Sheet Metal was the low bidder on that project.
Any questions or comments on those items from board members?
When was the last time we resurfaced those tennis courts? Do we know?
I've been here 15 years, and I don't recall doing it.
I don't think they've been resurfaced. They were. I remember when they were. When they were. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's never been done.
Yeah.
I was just curious how many years we got out of it before you start doing that.
Any other question or comments from board members? Any question or comments from members of the public or staff? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Brings us to item 4, which is adoption of resolution number 30, 2021, to adopt the California Environmental Quality Act Mitigated Negative Declaration and the Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program for the replacement of Richmond Elementary School project.
So this is our mitigated negative declaration, and the initial study indicated that mitigated negative declaration was the appropriate document for our Csca process. We circulated to state and local agencies for a 30-day review, and we had a comment from Caltrans and from Kern County. So we've cleared all those agencies. It's been out for public review, and we bring that to you for your approval this evening.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public or staff? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Brings us to item 5, approval of agreement with the Southern California Edison to implement an electric bus and associated charging infrastructure plan. Mr. Goyd.
So what we're presenting to you at this time, or what we're asking for, is permission to enter into an agreement with Southern California Edison. And we've got some budget numbers down there. We'll bring these other items to the board in the future. But what we need to do is, we've done preliminary design on this, Edison has, and we have with Ortiz Melby Architects. But in order to proceed any further, we have to have a signed agreement telling Edison we're moving ahead with this project. So that's what we're asking for tonight, is your permission to move ahead. We've put a budget in here. We'll bring that in for further discussion. We're out for construction management services right now. We have an RFQ on the street. So once all that comes together, we'll bring those numbers in for contract approval. So tonight we're asking that we can go ahead with sign this agreement with Edison for their ready charge systems and move ahead with that project.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So this is assuming, so the number you're going to give them is a number just to get electric to the plant, right? Just to the property?
Can I get a motion?
Yep, second.
Second? Okay, go ahead and ask your question.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So my question is, this is for Edison to provide power to the site, correct?
Yes. Now, once
but it's assuming, you're assuming that it's going to get approved so they can actually make money off it, or they won't do it, right? And that's the reason they're going to do it for.
Yeah, they're going
Right.
to make money selling electricity.
So when I looked through the stuff that you sent out, I know we had asked about a bid for concrete versus asphalt. I didn't see that anywhere in any of the package. So that's my only question.
Okay, as I understand what's being asked for tonight is just, we will get a budget later to approve on how we do it, but first we have to promise them we're going to perform. Is that kind of where we are?
Yeah, I actually discussed that with the architect today too, and it's such a crazy time right now for construction, for building
Right.
materials, that we're figuring 35 to 50% premium to do concrete. And I think what we're better off doing is going ahead and completing our design, coming to you again and saying, here's our options.
Okay.
What we can do.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're going to approve.
Yeah, we're not moving.
We're not approving the budget right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my only question. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Questions or comments, members of the public or staff? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. That brings us to item 11, business administration. Item number 1, Mrs. Smith.
Good evening, President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Ostash, community and staff. So number 1, basically we lease these relocatable buildings, 11 relocatable buildings. We've been leasing them for 15 years. The lease comes up every 5 years. It's due, and in looking at the likelihood that we would stop using these relocatables at any time in the near future, it seems like it is more effective for the district to purchase those outright. And we did contact the vendor, and he agreed that in the event that we don't need them anymore, he will buy them back at market value. And they're worth significantly more than what we'll pay for them right now in order to buy them all. So it's the recommendation that we just pay for those things, we'll own them, and then if we don't need them at some future time, we can sell them back to the vendor.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any question by board members? Any questions or comments by staff or community? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. I will now entertain a motion for 2 through 5 together. Okay. Been moved and seconded. Ms. Smith, would you like to give us a summary of 2 through 5?
Yeah, so these are some purchases that various departments are interested in making to replace basically furniture and or equipment and or update some projectors at the school. And because they exceed the $10,000 limit, it's necessary to take them to the board. And so they're basically just purchases for some various equipment and items that the district would like to replace.
Any questions from board members on these items? Mr. Johnson.
I just had 1 on 4. On the Murray, didn't we get new furniture with the school?
We did not.
Okay, that's right.
Remove old stuff.
It apparently got pulled from the
That's right.
scope because of budget issues.
Yep. That's right. So that's good.
Okay.
Get nice
Any other
furniture for
questions or
our nice new
comments?
building. Thanks.
I
Yes, Dr. Houck.
Within this, was there, for the furniture, do we see sled desks and those kind of things? Were there discussions about, with the teachers in terms of what kind of furniture they might get that lends itself to instruction?
So I did not have that conversation with the teachers. I always assumed that the staff that brings these kind of purchases to the business department to manage for them has those conversations. And so I can't answer that question because we didn't go out and have that conversation with staff at this site.
Is there a follow-up, Dr. Houck?
Yeah, I just want to follow on
Go
with
ahead.
what Ms. Smith is saying, is that these conversations were held at the school sites, and the teachers and the staff involved were, their input was integrated in what they wanted. But I think I'm interpreting the question, and help me if I'm not, that this is an opportune time as we move forward with the fact that we've had a lot of distance learning, and then as we bring students back, there may be more incremental change in like pedagogical means by which we engage with students, pods, and collaboration among students. Is that what I'm interpreting, is making sure that we're not just buying stuff that we've had in the past that may or may not lend itself to the best, instructional modes in the future?
Yes, that's what I was thinking through how I was going to phrase that. That's what I was getting at, is the opportunity right now to be able to look at that. I mean, nobody's been in these classrooms, in full capacity for a while, and the opportunity to look at pedagogically furniture that lends itself to learning. That was what I was curious. Was that part of all of this before we jump into buying more furniture all the time?
I can say that confidently that the furniture that's being selected is what faculty and staff want right now, but I think the question and the conversation is well noted, and we will make sure that as we move forward that we are looking very closely and analyzing current and future needs. I think that's well noted.
There's another just thought as I was thinking through this, when we do get back in person and we don't know what all those guidelines are for distancing, for example. Sled desks sometimes are good for that, and sometimes they're not. There might be other furniture that could be good for that kind of distancing. So where it may not be this time, but if there is other furniture, I think that's something that we definitely would want to take into account, the distancing as well as just pedagogical, giving teachers freedom to be able to control their environment.
Any other questions or comments? Any questions or comments from public or staff? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. That brings us to item number 6, adoption of resolution number 31, 2021, establishment of special reserve fund 08 for student body activities per Education Code section 48930.
So there's been some concern over the last several years about the management and visibility of ASB funds. And so recently there was new legislation, and it's been recommended that a fund be established in the district's ledgers that will have visibility and accountability for the ASB funds. And Fund 08 is the fund that's been identified for that purpose. And in order to make that fund active for the district, we need to bring this to the board as a resolution for approval. And we would create it, and then the money would transfer in there from the ASB and be managed a little bit more visibly.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from board members? Questions or comments from members of the public, staff? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. We will now move to special concurrent item 3.1, approval of payment of administrative fees for the preparation and lease agreement for the proposed site of the new Richmond Elementary School. Ms. Smith.
Yeah, so since the district is proposing that we replace Richmond on property that is not currently leased, it will be necessary to negotiate a new lease with the NAFAC. And previously, they covered the administrative fees for these types of administration and management of the lease agreement, but they have new policy now, and they desire that the district pay those fees so that they can begin that lease processing. And so the purpose of this is so that we can pay those fees so that we can get the documentation and processes started to cut that new lease for the new property for the new Richmond.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on this item? Mr. Rockwell.
So don't want to speak too much out of turn, and I'm not sure if this part of NAVFAC is the same as some of the parts of NAVFAC that I've been aware of doing some interesting things of late on the other side of the fence. But as we get invoicing from them, let's be very careful that it's clear what we're being invoiced for and what we're paying for going forward, because there's been some challenges that I've heard of that maybe some of those things were not as well defined as they should be.
And my understanding is this is a fixed cost. They told us what it would be in advance. We'll pay it in advance, and there should not be additional fees from NAVFAC for these processes.
Great.
Any further questions on this item? Questions by staff or community? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. We will now temporarily adjourn the meeting of the Sierra Sands Unified School District to conduct the Iep Schools Financing Authority Board of Directors meeting. The only item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. If there are no changes, they will stand as approved, and we will adjourn the meeting of the Iep Schools Financing Authority and reconvene the meeting of the Sierra Sands Unified School District Board of Education to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
The entire consent calendar has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Any questions or comments on the consent calendar from the public or staff? If not, we will have the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. And that brings us to, are there any future agenda items? If there are not, we will stand adjourned. Thank you so much for your cooperation this evening in our unique board meeting. Thanks for your hard work. Have a good evening.